Abuja chapter. Ima is our Deputy Assistant Chapter Coordinator, so he will do the welcoming.
All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning, distinguished NAPI members, industry colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, want to apologize for the late start. This meeting was supposed to have started about 30 minutes ago, but we ran into some technical hitch. But however, we're okay now. My name is Emmanuel Ogunu. I'm the deputy coordinator of the NAPE Abuja chapter. And it's my pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to this meeting. On behalf of the coordinator who is unavoidably absent, I'd like to welcome you to the first technical meeting for this, for the chapter 2025. And I also like to extend my appreciation to the distinguished speakers and also the sponsor, TGS, for sponsoring this meeting and also bringing a very interesting, very insightful presentation to us at this point. So I want us to relax. We're going to be having discussion on very inciting, very educating topic in the industry. And we're going to be discussing on advancing technologies as regards to the oil and gas exploration. So I want us to be open. I see that we have been able to network, and for the students, take a lot of notes. There's a lot to learn. And for also the industry professionals also, there's a lot to connect, there's a lot to learn, and also there's a lot of business to take place in this meeting. So once again, without wasting much of our time, I want to welcome every one of you, and I wish every one of us a very fruitful deliberation today. Thank you.
Our chapter coordinator was supposed to do this, but she is in the US and she was supposed to do this online. We didn't want to take chances. The president, John Bosco F. Napi, are you online? Can you hear me? Please, if you can hear me, just unmute your mic.
I can hear you. AIC, and good morning.
Thank you, sir. This is the moment for you.
Oh, thank you very much. All right. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I also want to join my voice with the Abuja chapter coordinator to also apologize upfront for the hitches. But I think in all, I'm actually looking forward to an exciting session, knowing Peter quite well. I know he's going to handle the topic, which is around the future of seismic exploration, which is what he knows how best to do. So I'm sure we're going to feel good by the time we've listened to him. And again, happy to hear the networking that already has happened all over there in Abuja. So from here, I bring in greetings on behalf of the Executive Committee of NAPE, the Board of Trustees and our Advisory Council, to say we continue to do what we know how best to do, which is discussing the topical issues that will continue to bring more oil and gas to this country, and then solving the global energy challenge that we face today. And without taking much ado, I don't want to say we're here to support everything you're doing in Abuja chapter. You've been doing quite well, and I'm happy that we're kicking off this first session in a hybrid manner, having our folks in the room and then having our folks online as well. On that note, I would hand back to you and say to everyone to relax and enjoy the remaining time that we have for this session. And I'm sure you'll be happy that you stayed back both online and physically. With that, I will hand back to you, the AEIC.
Thank you, P. We call him P. He's one of the most proactive humans that I've also come to know. Okay, for our chapter coordinator, we'll take us towards the end of the presentation. Without too much ado, I'm going to go on to TGS right now. The sponsors for this program means a lot to us. They've done this once, and this is like the second time they're doing it with us in Abuja chapter. This, in a way, was supposed to take place in Lagos, but by way of maneuvering the waters, we pulled them up all the way to Abuja. Am I correct? So sure, Peter. Thank you for coming to Abuja. Peter, could you please stand? Peter has a, yes, this is when I expect to see a clap. Oh, come on. Okay, I'm supposed to read Peter's a bit of citation. This is, get ready for your presentation while I'm doing this. There's a couple of moments. There's always a backup somewhere. When one fails, okay, here we go. Peter has over 25 years of experience in the geophysical services industry and has started his career in seismic processing, responsible for the execution of velocity, depth modeling, building, and imaging programs. Joining PGS in the year 2000, Peter supervised the depth imaging group of PGS in London and later became the depth imaging manager in Houston, Texas, overseeing the imaging of PGS first wide azimuth project in the Gulf of Mexico. After several years leading PGS seismic imaging business in the North and South America, Peter joined the Europe multi-client group as head of geophysical operations. Since 2018, Peter has been responsible for new seismic acquisition programs in Africa, the Mediterranean and the Middle East, working with stakeholders to build and promote PGS acquisitions and imaging technologies and PGS data library across the continent. A Dutch citizen, Mr. Wijnen holds a Master's of Science degree in Geophysics from Utrecht University in the Netherlands. Whatever I left out, he will continue from there. Please, could you please clap your hands for Peter?
Well, thank you very much for such a, how do I describe this? Very expanded explanation. I'm really starting to feel quite old suddenly hearing that long intro, but thank you very much for that. First of all, good morning, everyone. Good morning, especially to our esteemed partners from the NUPRC. Without you, I'm not sure if we would be here, and it's very important. So I'm glad you're here. Ministry of Petroleum Resources, glad to see you here in the room as well, and thank you as well for NAPE for organizing this excellent event. And it's no surprise that when Wole asked me, can we do this event again? I said, absolutely. I really enjoyed this event, doing this event last year. And I think it's a very important event, as was already said earlier, where we can connect as an industry, as a university, students, and understand what we are doing. We understand what you are doing. And I think it's a very, very nice platform. So, with that, let me try to go into the presentation. I think we have to move to that one. Oh, it's already there. You can see how efficient that suddenly is. But what I wanted to discuss with you a little bit today is talk about the technology and what we're doing on the exploration side to see what technology we can employ to extract more resources, also faster, and we'll see how we can do that. What I do need to start off with is obviously I represent the company TGS. And for those of you who have been part of this geophysical services world for a while, will have known that TGS is a different company now than it was 9 months ago. 9 months ago, it merged with PGS, and the new company is really what I would call a truly integrated energy data company. And you can ask yourself, what do I mean with that? And really, when I talk about integrated energy data, it's really a company now which can offer anything on any service, anything related to oil and gas, energy data, from the initial ideas, the concept, all the way up to the actual discovery, and even beyond that, and obviously everything in between as well. So what do we cover? And as part of that, we offer this type of services in many different arenas. We are part of the new energy business as well. We're looking at solar energy, carbon capture and storage. And we're very active in that arena in the, well, call it wind farm placement and site survey type of services. And that is related to ultra high resolution seismic. Seismic up to frequencies of hundreds and hundreds of hertz, getting a very, very accurate image of the subsurface. We obviously, and we're going to see a little bit later, we're very active in the streamer seismic acquisition part of what we're doing with our REMForm technology, our streamers which are obviously towed through the water. In addition to that, we can also deploy ocean bottom nodes, OBN nodes, where we have a direct coupling with the seabed. And also that brings different images, additional value to it all. We do this in many different modes. We obviously can do this working directly with contractors, or sorry, with clients directly, and doing this one-on-one. Or we do this as part of our own investment in what I would call multi-client environment, where we invest ourselves with one or two early participants, early funders who help us kick off the programs. And that has enabled us to build a significantly large library of data, which you and all our customers can tap into and understand what we're dealing with. This is part of mature areas, but also frontier areas. There is no real basin in the whole globe which we haven't covered these days. And part of that, the important part of that as well, is how we image that data, because that library is only as good as the technology we put into this. So imaging, and you'll see some of these new technologies coming forward over the next few minutes, is an incredibly important part, that we continuously update our technology so we can revitalize our multi-client library. We can make sure that our customers can find new resources or additional resources in even more complex scenarios. So really, what I wanted to go through with you this morning or this afternoon is show some of that technology. On the acquisition side, I'll take a small step back and show you a little bit of what we have to offer, but focus more on the technology itself as well. What is new, and how can we find these resources in even more complex scenarios? Finding new stuff is one thing, but also extracting more of what we already know, I think, is a very important part of our future. Nigeria in particular as well. There's a lot of mature fields, but extracting more out of that field, those are relatively cheap barrels, as we call them. And on top of that, I think if I want you to walk away out of this room later on this afternoon, really what we're trying to do with our technology is to get the highest quality absolutely possible, do this as efficient as possible, as cost effective as possible, and do this as fast as possible, because time is an incredibly important part of what what we're trying to deal with here. I think what we are really trying to do is try to make the whole cycle from concept to the discovery as fast as possible, and that there's a lot of value in that. And I'll come back to in a little bit more detail on how we do that. But really, almost technology outside the oil and gas sector is been an enabler to do that. If we think about satellite technology, cloud technology has given us opportunities to really go very quickly from acquiring the data to the image, which we as geologists and geophysicists can use. And I'll come back to that in a little bit more detail, how we integrate that in our workflows to make it even faster than it is today. Not only on the front end, on the simple side of things, but also starting to think how machine learning and AI can help. But having data in a cloud these days also gives us the ability to apply some technologies certainly when I started 25 years ago was unthinkable. And that's really an immense step forward. So we'll touch upon that later on, but I think a very important part on how we can make better images as efficient as possible, but also as fast as possible. So a little bit on the acquisition side. TGS is a large part of the TGS business is focused on the acquisition of energy data. And we do this in multiple ways. I think the key one, and I think some of you have seen this one before, but a large part of the seismic data we acquire is using our fleet of seismic vessels. We have currently a fleet of 7 active vessels, of which 4 are the latest and greatest purpose-built seismic vessels. Our Titan class vessels, as they're called. They're, just to give you a bit of an idea, they're about 100 meters long, which is not that abnormal for a vessel, but they are 70 meters wide at the back. And that is almost as big, if not bigger, than the largest cruise ships. So just to give you an idea. And why do we do that? Why is it so wide at the back? So first of all, we can deploy more equipment. We can have the space to deploy that equipment. But more importantly, we have the space to do this in a very safe manner. And some of these vessels, they are operating in some very harsh environments. Operating in 8, 9, 10 meter seas is very, very common these days. And this type of vessels, these purpose-built vessels are perfectly set up for that to ensure that it is a stable platform. So a very important part. We have some older generations still in action as well. Just to go back to the latest T classes, they're currently operating in Namibia, Angola, and in Brazil. The slightly older generation, we have a Ramform Sovereign. She's operating in Asia Pacific, and some V classes V classes, one of the earlier Ramform classes, and they're operating in Europe. That's our core fleet. We also have a flexible fleet, which we can use if we have more work to do or different work to do. And so we can flex up and down accordingly. And they can also be used, if need be, as source vessels, and why they can be useful, we'll touch upon in a little bit. But one of the key things here to mention is that our fleet is as homogeneous as possible. So it doesn't really matter if you use this vessel or that vessel, the technology on the vessel is exactly the same. And one of those technologies is, for example, barnacle mitigation. And you ask yourself, why is that now so important? But barnacles are an absolute nuisance to our operation. They attach themselves to the streamers, and they generate noise. That's not a good thing. And even worse, they attach, they get friends and attach themselves to each other. So they become bigger and bigger and bigger, and up to a point that they can snap the whole cable off. And that's clearly not what we want. It's not very good at all. So we have all sorts of mitigations on these vessels. We have, obviously, you can go out yourself and scrape them off, but that's not very safe. So we try to do that as little as possible. So what we're using is the robotic systems to attach to the streamer and let the robots clean them. In addition to that, we have ROVs who you can also position and put on the streamer, and they clean them for you. And the latest, which we have deployed on the full fleet, and this is really a key technology from an operational aspect of what we're focusing on, is we have an anti-barnacle coating we apply when we deploy the gear. And that's a very, very effective way of maintaining the right quality and in a safe manner. All the other bits and pieces also are similar on the vessels. And the key one as well is to say that we are having the same streamer, the GeoStreamer, which on every vessel. So it doesn't matter which vessel you use, you always have the same technology. And I touched upon the GeoStreamer briefly. You might have seen this one because this technology is not necessarily new, but it's still the state of the art when it comes to streamer acquisition. A multi-component streamer, so we use a hydrophone and a velocity sensor in the same streamer. So what that means is that, and because these two sensors are complementary, where we have a notch in the hydrophone spectrum, we have a peak in the velocity sensor. So they are complementary. So when we put them together, we have a broadband signal. What it also allows us to do is to then tow that cable a bit deeper than we were used to in the past. So we usually tow that cable at 20 or 25 meters, which obviously creates that broadband data set. But the added benefit is that it creates some lower frequencies as well. And the lower frequencies in our data are becoming really important when we're talking about velocity model building and reservoir characterization in terms of inversion work. Those low frequencies, every little bit creates a significant uplift on the accuracy of the image we generate. So a step beyond the streamer acquisition, seismic acquisition is the acquisition using OBN ocean bottom nodes. As part of the seismic offer, we also have around 30,000 mid to deep water nodes. As I said earlier, we can place them on the seabed, but we can apply that technology in a variety of environments, anywhere from transition zone to slightly deeper, where we can put them on a rope and you can deploy them on the rope, pick them up on the rope, or all the way up to the deep and ultra deep parts of the areas we're looking at. And then it's not only the node which becomes important, but the whole operation around it, where we have to have a node handling vessel, deploying the nodes using an ROV, and also using ROVs to pick up the nodes. And that becomes a very time-consuming and intense process. Not every node is the same as well. In my mind, I always compare nodes a little bit to iPhones. There's always a new version next year. It's a bit of a simplistic way, but that's the way it goes. The nodes are they're designed for different purposes. Some of them are for shallow water, some of them for deep water. An important part of it as well is the battery life in these nodes. The battery life can be for some around 60 days, but some of the newer technology allows longer battery life. And that makes that's an important part of it, because the longer the battery life, it also gives us more flexibility in terms of how we deploy the nodes, how we deploy the source, which generates the energy to record on the nodes, and to ensure that that we can do that as efficient as possible. So these nodes, as I said, they are always looking at newer and better, and we're doing the same thing. So When it comes to the next generation node, we're looking at adding more technical capabilities, additional sensors, additional low frequency information, but also looking at additional battery life, because that's, again, an important part of how we can get the best quality in the most efficient and cost-effective manner. So that's an important part. So a slight step before I go into the absolute latest and greatest on the technology side. And my colleague Joshua, when I finish, he will take over and show some of this technology in action here in Nigeria. But I thought it is important to highlight some of the key parts on the 4D aspects, because, as I said earlier, I think it's still going to play in a very important part in the seismic part of what we're doing in order to extract more of what we already know is there. Just to give you an idea, 4D is not new to us, not new to TGS, not new to PGS, not new to the company as we are. What is relatively new is that since 2012, when we started really doing the GeoStreamer work in 3D, also generating 4D surveys from GeoStreamer on GeoStreamer, and then you can really see the benefits of some of the broadband and low frequency content of that data. So this year we're doing around the 55th survey in this aspect, and we've done it all over the world, Nigeria included. And as I said, Joshua will give you an outline of what that was and what the challenges were in that particular survey. But the key thing. Repeatability is really critical. That is, how do we do that? Because obviously the weather and the key state is never identical. But we use as many tools as we can get to ensure that we repeat that survey as precise as possible. We do that primarily, obviously, to generate high density surveys. We use the GeoStreamer, as I said earlier, but we also deploy steerable sources and steerable streamers, so we can direct where the sources are going. And of course, important in 4D is to understand where every individual channel is. So not only knowing where the sources and the streamers are as a whole, but also understanding where every single channel is at any point in time is a critical component. And this is one of those steerable sources. Yes, it's a cartoon, but it gives you a little bit of an idea what the possibilities are. So we can steer the source, as you can see happening here. But in the length of about a football pitch, which is around 100 meters, we can divert the source almost 35 to 40 meters to one side and back again. So you can imagine, even in very different and challenging environments, we are able to make that repetition accurate. Sources, of course, which are important, but also the location of the recording system. And how do we do that? So along the streamer, we have these devices which we call eBirds, and these eBirds are allowing us to move the streamer laterally and also vertically, so we can accurately position these streamers where we exactly want them to be. And all of this is fully integrated into the navigation system on board. So when the job is coming, the system already knows where and what. Very important part because of this. Because if you do the imaging of your 4D signal correctly, you can really see what differences between the baseline and the monitor are happening. And that difference tells you really on what has happened at the reservoir. This is an image of the difference in acoustic impedance at reservoir level. The blue color displaying the hardening of the gas cap, and then the softening in the yellow and red colors. But clearly, what it shows is, and you see the lines as well, the red lines being the producers, and the blue ones being the water injectors. It gives you a very, very accurate 3D view of where to put your next well, your next producer or next injector to maximize the flow of your reservoir. And this is critical to get those last barrels out, because as I said earlier, those are the cheapest barrels we will produce. New fields, new investments, it costs a lot of money. Getting these out and in the right way is the most efficient way of adding additional resources into the mix. Okay, on to some of the specific technology on the acquisition and imaging side as well. On the acquisition side, we talked about nodes, we talked about streamers. We can deploy these in very different setups, different problems, different challenges. And this is what we're doing all the time. This is part of the quality concept phase when we're looking at certain problems. We look at a problem, we talk to our customers, and we want to understand how to best solve these problems. Is it with nodes? Then we deploy nodes. Is it with streamers? We do streamers. It could be something in between. And this is what we're a variety of setups we're currently looking at and deploying. Some of them, for example, on the lower left, you see these extra long offsets. This is where we use two vessels. We use a streamer vessel, and we use an additional source vessel. But then we can create offsets 20 kilometers long. And certainly if you deal with complex, often salt reservoirs, it's incredibly important to have these long offsets to get a best possible image of that structure. Azimuthal diversity is also important. The nodes have that inherently. You can use those if budget and technology allows. But you can also acquire seismic in different with a streamer vessel in different directions, getting a similar uplift in terms of azimuthal diversity in your data. And the next thing, and you'll see that long offsets and more data, but also displaying or putting your sources in a wider gives you a better near offset distribution. Very often we have a very small, narrow near offset distribution, and that this becomes very important if the water depths are a bit shallow. And being able to tow your sources wider gives you a far better distribution on the near offset, a better image, a better quality of that very near surface, which not only affects that near surface itself, but not only, it also affects how we what affects the deeper part of our subsurface. So I'll show you an example in a second. But when I talk about wide tow, normally when we put a source array out there, they're about 50 meters apart. Wide tow, if you look at 200, 250, up to 400 meters, so you can really see how wide the source arrays are going. So an important part because it gives you additional and more and better information of that subsurface. So we've done some of that, and this is just a brief example where we use the wide tow sources to solve some of the problems we were having in this part of the Norwegian section. We needed some long offsets to image some of the deep structures and the deep geology, but also we needed a very, very high resolution image of the very shallow. So to do that, we designed the survey which allowed to do both in one. So a wide tow source, 250 meters in total, a normal, I would almost call it a normal spread with 7-kilometer offset. But two of the streamers were extended to 10 kilometers. And why would you do that, you ask? Now, you see there in color, that's the possible call it the full waveform inversion sensitivity kernel. It tells you how deep you can go and how deep you need to go for the full waveform inversion to be effective. So the blue one is the 7 kilometers, and you can see it doesn't quite touch the target. The 10-kilometer one, even if you use two out of the 14 cables, is giving you the information you need, and getting that information, the long offset, married together with the lower frequencies of our geospace, gives you the ability to provide a very accurate velocity depth model, which gives you the opportunity to grade the images you see here on the screen. What about the near offsets? Now, this is the normal setup on the left, and the white toe setup on the right. And you can clearly see a significant improvement in that shallow, where you see a lot less gaps and a lot of less striping, which not only have an impact on the accuracy of the interpretation in the very shallow, but it also causes imprints in the deeper section. Another part of what we're focusing content of the source itself. So we have created a low frequency source. We call it Gemini, a low frequency source Gemini, and it's specifically targeted to generate extremely low frequencies for deeper penetration and extreme complex subsurface scenarios we're dealing with. It's slightly different than a conventional array. The conventional array can have several lower volume guns all put together and generating usually somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 cubic inch in terms of volume. This is a single gun, a single low frequency gun with a total volume of 8,000 cubic inch. For the rest, it's very similar in the way it's set up and designed and operates as a normal source, but you can clearly see it's a large volume. Also, the directivity and the azimuthal variation is very restricted. So what it does mean is that it's not only generating a low frequency output, but it also creates a wavelet which is actually quite a bit simpler than the normal sources, and this becomes quite important when you look at inversion schemes like the full waveform inversion. So you saw one in action there, just going off. It's as I would say a big bang, but necessary if you want to penetrate the very deeper and complex parts of the subsurface. So here you see a shot record on the left, a standard source. On the right, you can clearly see the additional low frequencies in the mix there. And also, if you see the same the same wavelet on the left, the standard source array, and on the right the low frequency array, you can see it's a lot simpler. So not only more low frequencies, but also a simpler wavelet for inversion purposes. So right now, that source it's pretty new. So this is really being deployed as we speak across the world. We've done a few surveys in the Gulf of Mexico using OBN technology, and a few in offshore Egypt, in the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. And we're currently deploying this Gemini source just south of here in Angola. But again, it's very, very effective when you have these complex subsurface challenges. This is the last slide to this, but it shows you what that Gemini source is bringing. So if we just simply focus on the image on the right, you see on the top the image generated with the existing, well, what is the conventional data which was there before the low frequency source. The middle one is the same line, the same image, but just a very fast track results. But you can clearly see the additional low frequencies already coming through. But if you can then use those low frequencies into your workflow, into your full waveform inversion and subsequent work, you can clearly see the massive improvements on the subsoil images as we go deeper. So an incredibly important part of getting that better data out of the technology we have. But so far, I've only talked about better and maybe more efficient and more effective. But what about faster? And this is an interesting task here, because really what our industry is actually doing is making use of some of the technologies which are not necessarily designed by us. Right now, just to give you an example, all our vessels are using low Earth orbit satellites, and right now all the data we are acquiring offshore is directly beamed into the cloud, into the processing centers. And what that really means is, if you think of a traditional flow, we would acquire the data, it would be QC'd on board, then it would go onto a processing system. There would be some additional processing to be done, just some very basic stuff to make sure it's okay. Then it would be written to a tape. The field data would be written to a tape, goes into a case, onto the support vessel, and it goes into the nearest port. It sits in a custom clearance house. It sits wherever, but you can clearly see that time frame before it hits our desks or our customers' desks. It could be weeks, if not months. And that's a time frame where we can really make a massive speed up. So what we're currently doing is making use, as I said, of those satellite systems, and we beam all the raw data, so all the raw hydrophone, all the raw geophone data, directly into the office through the cloud. That enables us to do so much stuff very quickly. So instead of weeks, months after the survey completes, basically, even while the survey is going, we can see what is happening. But even days after the completion, you can have starting to interpret volumes of data. And having that rapid access, but having that data into a cloud enables us to do a lot more, a lot of different things we've never really thought about. And then we touch upon the buzzwords of AI and machine learning, but it might not be necessarily the core of what we're doing in geoscience yet, but it's clearly that it has a place in what we're trying to do. And it's incredibly important to also widen our spectrum a little bit here, because machine learning and AI and all that kind of technologies are being used in many different industries, and we can learn from that. Some of these problems which are currently being solved with machine learning algorithms are very similar to what we're trying to achieve. So how can we learn from that? And also, and this is where you guys all come in, is how can we get that next geoscientist to fully comprehend what is required, what is necessary, and to help us in this journey. Because I think there's a massive amount of opportunities on connecting the machine learning parts of what we're doing, but also with that strong knowledge of really what is happening from a geologic point of view, from a geophysical point of view. But as I said, AI and machine learning, we're already starting to do that. I don't say that us as an industry, and I make it broader, that we're already done that and finalized it. I think we're really merely at the beginning of that whole process. But we can already do that. We already use algorithms to help us with this, in the simplistic case, helping us with the maintenance of our vessels, for example. We have algorithms. You haven't changed this bolt for a few months. Better change it before it goes wrong. And these are very simplistic ways of looking at it. But also on the data, at machine-driven denoise, automatic detection of air leaks and crossfeed. it's something we can ask algorithms to recognize, and if they recognize it, they can remove it. So that's what we're already building into our daily flows these days. But it doesn't have to stop right at the beginning. We also can take that step forward. And as I say, as our data is now into a cloud form, into a cloud very quickly, even whilst acquisition is ongoing, we can do a lot more. So we're also looking at building velocity depth models using machine learning algorithms. We use trained Fourier network operators basically to guide us to ensure that our gathers are flat, but updating the velocity model based on gather flatness. Very similar to how we used to tomography. But this way, it doesn't take weeks or months. It takes a matter of minutes. And this is the big step change, and this is all allowed by the fact of having all the data into one space in the cloud space, but in that cloud also where we can use compute in an expansive way. If we need to have a lot of it, we can use a lot of it. If we need nothing, if we don't need anything, we don't use it. And that's a very powerful and effective way to do it, cost effective, highest quality, and incredibly fast. So what it looks like, simple like that. We start with a very simple background velocity model. We use the machine learning algorithm, and we can come up with a velocity after very few iterations. And it clearly shows you the purplish velocities are high velocities. When we look at it as geologists and geophysicists, they really match up with the volcanics we expect in the area. So it's a very important part to still use some of our background knowledge here, but having an image like this in a matter of minutes really allows us to take it to the next level. By no means this is the end product, but this is a good starting product to use other even higher technology or yeah, higher accuracy technology. You'll get it later on. And that's exactly what we're doing in the cloud. And this cloud technology, again, it's not something specific to TGS or to any company, but it really allows us to be extraordinarily flexible with what we're doing. And it allows us to use even more complex algorithms and more complex algorithms in many different aspects. When I was just told it was 25 years ago, but when I started in the imaging side, we were doing NMO, and the new thing was going to DMO. We would stack the data, and the new bit was to migrate the data. But technology evolved, and everything around that time, it took more time, but yeah, that's how it went. So we went from time imaging to depth imaging. We went from isotropic to anisotropic. We used tomographic methods, and started to full waveform inversion. And now we're at the point that we're doing acoustic full waveform inversion and get some very interesting results. But why stop there? Go to include elastic properties. But one key thing here is that complexity, the increased complexity, has driven us to do more and more, and to use more advanced algorithms every time. But it also means that some of the initial assumptions we've used are breaking down. So if those are breaking down, we have to take fewer assumptions, really look at the physics of it all, and see what can we do. And that's what we're doing with going from acoustic into elastic properties, and not only use compressional waves, but use shear waves and density as well in our solutions. Now, the only way this is possible is because we have all the data into a cloud where we can use the highest and the most CPU power we need. There are days that we are in the top 5 of the global CPU users, and that's massive. But the next day we could be would be almost right at the bottom. But the ability to flex up and down like that is incredible, and allows us to do these type of technologies. This is an example. This is a complex scenario. This is an example from the Gulf of Mexico. But you can see all the way up to about 15, 16 kilometers. So so the bottom of the section is around 16 kilometers. So the base salt is around 13 kilometers depth. Creating velocity models with a full waveform inversion. This is the acoustic waveform inversion. Gives some very, very encouraging results. You would think this is it. This is enough. This is how this is as good as it gets. I could only dream of this 20 years ago. This is unbelievable. But if we take the full physics into account and we take the elastic properties, suddenly you can start to see a lot more resolution, even at 13 kilometers depth. And now you can start to really think about, in these even complex scenarios, I can start seeing source, I can see starting pathways, trapping mechanisms in areas we've never ever seen before. And that's an incredibly big step up, and a very important step where we're not only creating the highest quality images, but we're also doing it pretty damn fast, to say it politely. The image related to that, acoustic here, looks already pretty good, but if you can compare it to the elastic, again, you see more clarity, more resolution on the base salt, but also on the flanks highlighted with the arrows. One final example, this is from offshore Brazil, in one of the biggest fields offshore Brazil, using OBN data. Clearly, you can see the resulting image is incredible. The definition in the subsalt areas is incredible. An arbitrary line, looking at it again, you can see a lot of variation, high resolution in the velocity model. That was never possible at those depths, at that resolution. But it's not only velocity model we create; it's also making sure that it ties some of the information we know is true. So if you look at the acoustic versus the initial velocity model versus the final multi-parameter velocity model, is incredibly accurate compared to the well. And these are technologies and advancements we are applying right now. We're getting more and more of this, and it's only a matter of time that this type of technology will also be applied in offshore Nigeria. Again, I'll stop with this, but you can see the evolvement of it as we have the more compute. We include higher frequencies, and you can get some incredibly accurate results in some very, very complex areas. So I'll stop here, and I'll hand over to my colleague. But really, what I wanted to do is to give you a little bit of a flavor of what the technology is we have available. What is the services we supply on the streamer, on the OBN side? Give you a bit of an idea what that technology looks like. Not only on new areas, but also with the 4D aspects, extracting more of what we have. I think it's very, very important to keep that in mind. But I'll end where I started. I think really the technology now available to us really gives us the opportunity to get the absolute highest quality in the most cost-effective and efficient way, but also do it in a very, very fast manner. So that's what we're all about. That's what we're looking forward to continue with everyone here, with our partners, and make sure that we can get this technology applied to offshore Nigeria. So with that, I'll hand over to Josh.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. And it's a pleasure to be back in Abuja. Thank you to everybody in the room and to all those online as well. I think I saw more than 100 earlier. So it's an honor to be presenting to such a broad and esteemed audience. What I really wanted to do was take a bit of what Peter presented and represent it in a real way, which we acquired a survey here in Nigeria recently. So we can see the impact of some of those technologies and the benefits of those in the 4-dimension space, in the time, the changes in the reservoir over time. You'll notice that this is in the NAPE format. So I had the privilege of presenting this in Lagos at NAPE in November. This is an abridged version, tailored slightly more for the audience here. But it's a description really on the operational practicalities of a 4D survey we acquired in the Akpo field. I'll run through a brief project overview, talk a bit about the assigned vessels, some of the acquisition parameters, the setup, and specifically some of the simultaneous operations and the oil field challenges and how we overcame those challenges as we go through. And I'll start by saying that the survey started in November 2023 and finished in January 2024. It was a complicated multi-vessel, multi-configuration acquisition. So we had a streamer vessel and at times we had a source vessel, and we had to reconfigure the streamer setup and the relative positioning of the streamer and source vessels to each other as we went through. It's in a busy, challenging oil field environment. And of course, with it being a 4D survey, positioning and repeatability are absolutely crucial. On the SimOps and planning side of things, which is where we work extensively with our local partners, locally, Seismic and Petrodata, we have to ensure the correct arrival time of the vessels, both to fulfill our contractual obligations to Total Energies, but also to make sure that we have seamless acquisition and no downtime with the source vessel arriving at the appropriate moment and being able to commence acquisition. I think the image on the right here is taken from the bridge wing of the Ramform Vanguard. So that's the streamer vessel, and the tow line there to the Tor Freya, the support vessel, purpose-built support vessel. So the seismic streamers are deployed, and before we actually enter the oil field, we make sure that the vessel can be towed by the support vessel, which is there the whole time. So it's the approach to health and safety starts right at the beginning. Moving to the project overview, the survey aims, of course, to acquire best-in-class 4D data with no recordable HSEQ incidents. And we achieved this. One of the main emphases was on very early integration and collaboration of not only the TGS project team, but our partners in Seaside and also the Total Energies project team onshore and offshore. And that's crucial because there are so many literal moving parts here that you have to ensure that the lines of communication are formally established and tested prior to any commencement in acquisition. So by way of example, TGS's chief security officer was invited by our customers, by Total Energies, to their Marine Operations Center in One, and our operations manager went down as well. So the teams physically met each other and could start face-to-face interaction and relationship building, and to understand each other's processes and practices in person before we even brought the Ramform Vanguard into Nigerian waters. We also had a management visit on board the security escort vessel because we kept the costs as reasonable as possible for Total Energies. So we chartered our own security escorts between the Nigerian EEZ into Lagos and out to the Akpo field boundary, at which point we then handed over and used Total's existing security infrastructure in field. And that was another seamless approach to doing things. The images here on the right shows the Vanguard's track into Lagos before we mobilized, and on the left is about 24 hours after that, taken as Vanguard departed Lagos port. I won't dwell on this slide because I'm sure you're all pretty familiar with where the project is, but it is ultra deep Niger Delta, 175 kilometers offshore. But I think what's useful here is the red imagery on the right shows the high vessel passage areas. So you can see out to the oil field, and you can see just how busy that oil field is, which comes back to the theme of SimOps and safely mitigating the acquisition here. A few selected considerations. Now, specialized, highly specialized vessels like the Ramform Vanguard, like the Tor Freya, who has the ability not only to tow the vessel, the seismic vessel, but to bunker safely inline, to crew change. She has her own dedicated seismic workboat, so it allows us to do additional barnacle removal. These have to be imported, and that can be a process which is complex, and we work very closely with local partners, local regulators, and to ensure that that's a smooth process. And then I've mentioned security, so I won't dwell on that, but the complexity of the acquisition of a 4D survey in an active oil field. I'd like to reflect at this point on the importance of the expertise and the early team integration in driving successes. And then this was a proprietary survey, so we're not party to Total's specific focal points and attempts to achieve. But of course, you know, supporting reservoir development through water injection optimization, pressure maintenance, evaluation of sweep efficiency, mapping potential connectivity pathways, looking for missed hydrocarbons. These are the sorts of overall objectives for such a 4D survey. A quick word on the vessels. The Ramform Vanguard is not our biggest vessel, but this is a question of using the right tool for the job. And this, the equipment spread was not required to be a huge frontier exploration spread. So we can use a smaller vessel, which makes maneuvering in a busy oil field a little easier. So that provides advantages. The Apollo acted as a source vessel for undershoots, both of the Calm Boy and of the Akpo FPSO. And then really, I think the Tor Freya there, you can see she is a purpose-built, quite impressive, specific seismic support vessel. So whilst we imported her, for reasons I described, we also tried and use local security vessels and local escort vessels whenever possible. These two images, I think, demonstrate rather nicely the busyness of the field. So we can see the Akpo FPSO herself and the SPM loading buoy. I think you can see on the image on the right, that is the Apollo acting as a source vessel. This shot was taken from the bridge wing of the Vanguard. So they're threading either side of that SPM buoy, undershooting it. You can see in the background, I think that's the Jerry D'Souza drill ship, which is also operating in the field at the same time. And you can see a tagline from the SPM buoy where a tug is out of shot holding it out the way. So just to give you some idea of the number of vessels and the complexities of communication there. Add to that the surfer vessels, PSVs, and you really start to see the importance of formal permissions and communications with the OIM. These movements are dynamic in both space and time. So it requires exceptional teamwork, especially in close passes and undershoots. One of the ways we mitigated this in the early planning stages was we had a dedicated Akpo FPSO and Jerry D'Souza drill ship has ID, where we worked with the operators of other complex, challenging endeavors to identify early potential hazards. And that was a very helpful thing to do. A quick word on some of the acquisition parameters. As I mentioned, this was both a single vessel operation and then latterly a dual vessel operation. When we were using the single vessel operation, we had, I think, 8 streamers, just over 5 kilometer offsets and 100 meters between them. So a relatively standard single vessel setup. But then when we came to dual vessel operation, we reduced the length of those streamers and the number. So we had 4 on an asymmetric spread. We then used the source vessel to acquire data in front of the streamer vessel, stern of the streamer vessel, and laterally offset of the streamer vessel, which provided us rich azimuthal diversity and ensured we had the best coverage possible on all the best offsets possible. But it meant that you had to reconfigure the relative positioning of the seismic and source vessels to each other and repeat some of the acquisition lines. The image on the bottom left there is the Vanguard in single vessel mode. taken from Google Earth, just coming in for the first shot point of the survey. So if we have a quick look at how some of the data was acquired around these specific obstructions that I mentioned. So we had planned 52 single vessel lines, and the image in the top there shows in the north and the south, it should have been a relatively simple acquisition of previous lines, making sure repeatability was met. But of course, in reality, these things often don't go as planned, and the Jerry D'Souza drill ship remained on station in the south longer than she had planned to be there. So we had to mitigate that quite quickly and work with Total to we sailed around her as close as we could. And then once we'd finished single vessel acquisition, we'd reconfigured to the dual vessel acquisition for the coverage around the Akpo FPSO and the calm buoy itself. We then used those dual vessel acquisition setups to cover the area that was obstructed by Jerry D'Souza once she finally moved, just a few days before the end of the survey. So this was all happening in real time, and we had to react to it in real time and work with our customer to ensure we delivered them what they need in a high fidelity, repeatable data set. So that moves us on to coverage. This is coverage of all offsets from single vessel and dual vessel mode. You can see the two thin lower coverage strips in the north there are where the permanent fixtures of the FPSO and the calm buoy are. And then you have the middling coverage, the yellow eye there down on the left. That's where Jerry D'Souza was. And the reason it's not fully green coverage is because we had the shorter offsets by the time we were able to access that area. But if we hadn't moved quickly and changed our plan, then there would have been no coverage there, and there would have been a gap. I think this is my penultimate slide, but just to highlight, we've discussed HSEQ as we go through the presentation, as it should be, integrated into everything that we do as an industry. But it's worth highlighting that Total provide weekly safety awards, and these go to the crew and the people who are out there doing the hard work. And those were awarded at the highest level that they could be. So we were very proud of that. And to summarize, really, it's been a collaborative and proactive teamwork enabling TGS and Total for the Monitor 4 project team to achieve these high standards. And we met Total again recently in Lagos, and I'm pleased to say that they are delighted with not only the operational aspects of the survey, but with the data that we have delivered to them. And it's enabling them to manage their field in the most optimal way. And with that, I think I would just say thank you and express my appreciation again to NUPRC and our partners there, to the Ministry of Petroleum Resources, to NAPE here and nationally, and to all of you in the room. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Joshua. Okay, we'll call one of our fellows in the name of Alex Tucker for just a 3-minute recap before we take questions and answer. And while that is going on, our Vice President walked in. It's Hey Basri, FNAPE. Welcome, sir. So please get your questions ready. We'll not be able to take all your questions. So if you have a question, write on a piece of paper or I'll call on you to take that. But for now, Alex Tucker, please, FNAPE.
Thank you. It's already good afternoon. On behalf of NAPE, I want to sincerely thank Peter and Joshua for a very brilliant presentation. TGS, our wonderful sponsors for this great event. Before I give this summary, for the sake of large crowd of young geologists, students in this room physically, I want to start by saying that You need to have an open mind as a geoscientist. The reason being that you sincerely standing before you never wanted to have anything to do with geophysics when I was getting into the industry. I was trained as a Westside geologist by F. I was excited to be hearing about Akpo. F trained me before it was translated into Total Energies. I'm always proud to say that. Secondly, when I got into NNPC, because I was running away from anything seismic, I found myself offshore on a vessel as one of my first challenge as a young geologist. The question was, why was I running in the first place? I was on Gary Chwes, very tough assignment, very challenging. You can imagine joining the system and your first assignment is to be on a vessel because they discovered I was offshore as a copper. And that was what made the way for me to shine, because that was the period my manager and top management chose to visit the vessel, and I had to give them lecture about the operations. I'm happy to be called upon to give this summary, and it has reminded me about 3 decades plus experience on a vessel. It was Gary Chwes, one of your competitors based in Houston as well. The interesting thing about today's topic and why I believe the hall is so filled up, this is the first time in a long while that we have this place filled up, people standing, is because of the excitement about this topic. The future of seismic exploration, emerging trends, technologies, and applications is such a fantastic topic. If there's any time we need to hear about this, it is now. Once again, for the sake of the younger ones, I want to say this again. The worst thing that can happen to you in the oil and gas industry is to be able to get the wrong data at the stage of what we have seen today. I always describe it like when a photographer snaps a wrong picture and then the person in the processing room is expected to beautify it by force. So there's a lot that has to go in through geometry design. You have to have the right geometry. And in most cases, you have to test about 2, 3 to choose the best to be deployed. The quality of the data have to be good from acquisition. If you don't get it right, you are punishing the processing center. There's hardly anything they can do. And if the data can be processed, what do you expect the interpreters to do? These are the frustrations in the industry. And that's why this topic is so relevant. It's an expensive operation. To deploy a vessel is very expensive. You can't afford not to get it right once the vessel is on location. The bill is huge. For the sake of today's lecture, just like I've been given limited time, I want to just summarize this way. PGS have been able to tell us about cutting-edge technology in 4D, seismic acquisition, the TGS eBed. The TGS eBed was the main beginning of what we started with. Geostreamer technology. A lot of streamers are deployed. You have them just dangling behind the boat, but they must be properly suspended to be able to achieve what you want. And then the 4D inversion, data acquisition impedance, mapping, imaging was part of what was discussed here. You run 4D after you must have done some production and you are checking on what is left to be produced. In most cases, we have a lot left. and it's only 4D that we'll be able to show you some of those things so that you don't just move out of that asset. Pioneering marine seismic solutions for evolving energy needs. Exploration surveys with wide tow, triple source. It's part of what we're educated about during the course of Peter's presentation. We also discuss enhanced low frequency sources, which gives massive improvement of the imaging, especially for deep opportunities. There are so many deep opportunities, and in most cases, you need to look out for such to optimize your asset when you get to production. If not, you move out and somebody else comes in there and could be making more money than what you thought you have gotten out of such an asset. Technology provides faster workflow from concept to completion, ability to initiate a project offshore, which usually takes some years to get into production. This technology that we've listened to today is telling us that from concept to completion, it takes very short time. And one of the most interesting things I heard Peter talking about, you are acquiring data is being transmitted to the processing center. We had to ship tapes, large number of tapes from Nigeria to Houston, Texas. I was at the processing center. It wasn't a funny experience. That was part of the delay of the project. You ship tape and you expect them, the time of shipping alone is taken out of this technology, which means a lot of cost saving. So going forward, this optimized data flow from what Peter told us, and also TGS using machine learning to drive automation across the fleet and in imaging. You will recall they mentioned about 12 fleets. It's not easy to have such a number of fleets, and were modified to meet up with any need offshore. We also discuss OBN here. You are right on the bottom of the sea, acquiring data. There's no better way of getting your data out offshore, no matter the depth of the water. Optimizing tomography with machine learning, evolution of imaging technologies, and many more of these were discussed during the course of this presentation. We move from there to Akpo, which gave us a typical example of how the lecture of today have been deployed. So we're not just being told stories, we have example of what has been done in our dear nation at Akpo Fields in Total Energies. The result was quite good. The project was achieved within a very good time limit, and the result by now should be very useful to whatever Total might have wanted to achieve within Akpo. Not just that, there was need to manage the CMOP. A lot of production was still going on when this job was on. There was no need to shut in the wells that were producing. The vessel was still able to acquire data around with all other issues that would have impacted these operations. It's highly commendable. We highly appreciate this lecture, and I want to believe there will be a lot of questions that will be triggered from this. Once again, I want to thank Peter and Joshua for bringing this to us, and the sponsors of TGS for sponsoring this. We highly appreciate, and we look forward to more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for doing this. Okay. We will not keep you here any longer than we should. So from in-house here, questions. If you have, I'll take the first two or first three. 1, 2. I'm sorry, I'm going to take a lady. 3. All right? So I will know too much I do your name and your question, please. Right? From online, there's just one question. Do you have technologies addressing onshore activities? So no, just keep that at the back of your mind. We'll take all the questions and then we'll come back to you.
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Anele Kalistus, and I'm privileged to be the secretary, Port Harcourt chapter, presently here in Abuja, for the sole reasons of this topic. First of all, I will commend Peter and Josh for bringing this emerging trends, technologies to us. Very important. Thank you very much. Before I ask my question, entering this, on my way coming, I had a broad view of expectations based on the topic, the future of exploration. I wasn't limiting it to only the marine environment. I was expecting onshore, deserts, transition, either ways. But I think having listened to both of you, I would observe that maybe that particular environment be included so that our minds will be limited to the marine exploration. Again, as explorers, we are not limited to any particular environment. So to my question, OBN, it's an evolving technology. So there's a lot of, complicities, technicalities involved in it, which was not detailed. But I am particularly interested in moving from acoustic to elastic. We saw the difference you made here in your topic. So I don't know if there are, by virtue of this movement, already established or inherent limitations to elastic that you have observed or you're gonna tell us. And thirdly, since it's an emerging trend, some of us are researchers and we've already, dived into that elastic. If you're open to, exposing and then taking some of these researchers on the elastic part of, the full wave inversions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kalistus.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ifeanyi Ede from NMPC Research, Technology and Innovation. I want to say a big thank you to the presenters. My question is, for the key thing is repeatability, which is 3D time elapse. So my concern is when you are bringing in steerable source, low frequency source, or even moving from acoustic to elastic wave, when you are acquiring the 3D after some time, will it not affect the repeatability? So how do you take care of that? Because these are newer technology, and probably when you acquired the old 3D, some of these technologies have not evolved. So how do you handle that?
Good day, everyone. My name is Obichema Faith from Federal University, Lafayette, Geology Department. I would love to ask a question on 4D inversion. Please, how does 4D inversion account for time-lapse, changes in seismic data, and what are the implications for reservoir monitoring?
All right, Peter, over to you.
Righty. A great set of questions. So I think I can answer the online question and the first question in the same time. And maybe I should apologize first because yes, I have been focusing on marine solutions primarily. From an acquisition point of view, I think the TGS company is primarily, and I say primarily, focused on offshore opportunities. It doesn't mean that we don't have onshore data, because we also have some onshore data we're having part of our library. But from an acquisition point of view, I think the streamer and the OBN technology is primarily deployed offshore. Having said that, a node is a node, and that same node can be put on any surface, including onshore, of course. So yes, that technology is the same from that point of view, and that can be applied like that. Our business model, as such, is not extended to that. So that's that was the prime reason for that. There was an additional part of that question. In terms of the, or let me, again, acoustic to elastic, sorry, and then.
Sorry, I did say, is there an inherent limitations or noticeable challenges from moving from acoustic to elastic that you've noticed?
So right now, if we as I said earlier, in terms of going from acoustic to elastic, it's simply the next step of taking less assumptions and being closer to the actual physics of the problem. So going from acoustic to elastic, there are less assumptions, so we get a better result. That's for sure. Is this the final result? No, because over time we're going to add more of the physical parameters we currently still call it ignore, which we think are too small. But by no means this is the end game. So we will continue. This process will continue. As I said earlier, when I was starting 25 years ago, I would not have imagined we would be able to do this. 25 years from now, who knows where we are? We can only dream about that, I guess. So thank you. I'll hand over to Josh for the 4D question.
Thanks, Peter. I thought you might. So just to be clear, I think the question was around repeatability in the event that the frequency range of the source you employ changes. And it's a very astute observation. So what we strive to do is we try to ensure that every aspect of the physical acquisition setup is repeated as it was in the baseline survey. So in this instance, we echoed the precise cubic inch volume of the sources, but not only that, the same size of the individual airgun sources in each of the arrays were positioned in the same relative place in those arrays to the previous survey and the previous survey towards that. What I think has changed from when the baseline and indeed the first monitor were required was the steerability of the sources. Now, of course, we have from the customer, we get the post plot, so we know exactly where not only the vessel, but each individual source array comprising the port and starboard sources were, but also the tail buoys and the interpolation of the streamer positions. So that allows us to employ newer technology. So while the source remains the same volume and the same frequency content, the same depth, streamers are at the same depth, same separation from each other, same length, we can strive to use the eBird to make sure that the streamers are positioned even more accurately in the same place they were for the previous monitor, and the same for those individual source arrays as well. So technology has allowed us to be more accurate and improve repeatability, but there's always, and this comes to the point that was made earlier about making sure you spec the survey optimally and appropriately before you make the investment decision. So you get it right the first time, and then you repeat that the next time, but you use improvements in technology to ensure improved repeatability. And I hope that answers the question.
before I answer your final question as well, in addition to that, of course, the repeatability of the actual acquisition design is key, but nothing stops us of going back to the results of the baseline survey and apply new technology onto both surveys. Because the key thing is that we look at, and then I'll come straight on to question number 3, that we look at differences between what we had at timestamp number 1 versus timestamp number 2. And what we primarily do in the inversion process is it is basically the quantitative reservoir inversion we're doing. We're trying to look at as many reservoir properties and use VPVS ratios, have an idea of the densities, and make sure that when we compare the monitor survey versus the base survey, we have a very accurate understanding of that difference. But we can apply any of this technology, but the reservoir characterization and this makes it extraordinarily powerful. We see the movement of the gas oil contacts, and that gives us an idea of where that level is, where we need to put injector wells or additional injector wells, as we discussed earlier as well, to understand, do we need to place it here, put extra pressure in this compartment of the reservoir, and that's exactly the inversion process, which gives us those reservoir properties, which connects the actual field, the actual reservoir to the data. And that's why we're doing it exactly like that. So a very powerful tool, as I say, to get that last drop of oil out of our reservoirs. So, okay, I hope that answers your question. And from my side as well, it's been an absolute pleasure here to see so many people. I hope what Josh and I have presented is just give you a tiny little flavor. This geological and geophysical world is immense, and technologies are developing on a daily basis. But this just gives you a little bit of an idea of what we're focusing on, and it's really a real pleasure to be here. And I hope really that some of this technology is really being deployed here in country. So thank you very much for your attention.
You will probably need to take some of these questions with you because there are a whole lot more. I would like to read this through here. No doubt these are complex simultaneous operations with multiple mobile vessels and immobile infrastructures. Well done to the Total and TGS. Now that you have conducted an after actions review, hopefully, what will you, with the benefit of hindsight, do differently in terms of operations and technical know-how? Then the second question is from Comfort Isiwo, Dr. Mrs. With the current drive to accelerate the development of renewable energy, while relegating fossil fuel energy to the back burner, how will this development affect the significance of seismic explorations? And that's the second question. Now, what is the place of AI in terms of your operations? That's another question. Are there internship opportunities with TGS? So on and so on. So we could probably just harvest all these questions and send it to you as an email. And if you could respond to them, that will do us good. Is that okay? All right, thank you. Now we are shifting gears. If you are from any of these universities, I need you to raise your hands quickly. Lecturers and students. IBB University, Lapai. Can you just turn back and see them? Any of the head of department or lecturer alongside that came with the students? Let me see your hand up. Oh, that's in there. Thank you. Thank you. They took all the risks of traveling to come in here. From Nsuk, National State University, Kefi. Any lecturer or head of department with you? I've seen one of your lecturer. Yes, that's her there at the back. She was my schoolmate. University of Abuja. Thank you. Where's the head of department? He never misses our technical meeting. Dr. What's his name again? Okay, he couldn't make it today. Thank you for coming. Federal University of Technology, Mina. Thank you for coming. This is your first time in our meeting, right? Yes. Thank you. These are all students and lecturers that have taken time to come to be here. I won't do justice if I don't acknowledge this, just some few names. Mr. Wijnen, Obo, thank you for coming. Yeah, he's the deputy director, special duties with NOSRA. Thank you. Oh, Federal University Lafayette, forgive me, Federal University Lafayette. How can I forget you? How can I forget you? Forgive me, huh? Thank you for coming. He's my friend, so that's why he has to show. Okay. Mohammed Gumsuri, thank you. He's also from NOSRA, Chief Environmental Scientist. Thank you for coming. This is the first time you're coming for our technical meeting. Yes, thank you. Ogumba Ogochukwu, Lead Acquisition and Processing, NNPC, NSAF. Thank you. NSAF is part of Abuja technical meetings. There is no separation at all. And that is where our advisory council member Zana is from, right? FNAPI. Yinka, non-conventional exploration method, NNPC, NSAF. The second name is Imolafe, Komolafe. Thank you for coming, sir. Thank you. John Solabi, did I pronounce it correctly? Salobi, Chems Oils and Gas Limited. Thank you for coming. He's been here right from the beginning till the end, sitting down quietly. I know there's so much in you that you want to say. Say it to them. Don't go without saying it to them. All right. Olani James, thank you. NSAP XTI. Abimbola FNAPE. She's online. I have to recognize our fellows, right? Head of Innovation and Lead Research. That's James. And then Adedoja Ajalabi, FNAPE, she works with Shaw. She's also online. Chevron. Oh, forgive me, Chevron. Thank you for having my back. Professor Benga Ehino, he's online. He won the Best Geosciences Award of lecturer. And then to our PE, Mrs. Olajumoke Ajayi, FNAPE, she's online. Please, I yield the mic to you if you can hear me, Ma, for your own remarks.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ma.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Ma, loud and clear.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. And our sponsor of today, CGS, we really appreciate you and thanks for the insightful presentation. We are glad that you were patient enough to stay with us when we're having the technical issues. And thank you once again, because this is a topical discussion. We are looking at exploring more, and we need to image our events properly and get it done with the right technology. We appreciate you for the time, and thank you very much for the audience, those online and those who are physically at the meeting room. Thank you for joining us today. And our president, you've been with us from the beginning. We really appreciate you for staying with us, and all those who joined us from NUPRC and other companies, we appreciate you all. Thank you very much. And we hope and believe that you will always join us every month at our technical business meetings. All our people from the secretariats, thank you for making everything smooth for this technical meeting today. And our chapter coordinator, Mrs. Ajayi, thank you very much. To everyone who have attended today and contributed in one way or the other, we appreciate you. And once again, thanks to our sponsor, and we hope to have you to continue to contribute to the growth of our great association, NAPI. Thank you everyone for attending. God bless you all.
Thank you, President-elect. That's our President-elect. 2 more items, then we'll leave this place. We'll do our presentation, and then we'll take announcements, and then that's it. Okay? Don't be in a haste. There is food for you, even for those that are fasting. you will take it with you, all right? And later you can have it. We're prepared for this. Yes, our VP, Ehi Mbazwe, he's our Vice President, NAPI. He will do the presentation to our sponsors in today's technical meeting. Thank you, sir.
Peter. On behalf of the Abuja chapter, and I want to say thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay, this is the sponsor. Who is taking on behalf of TGS? Okay, got it. TGS was here with us last year, and they are here again this year. I want to say thank you for this, and we really appreciate what you do. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I can see Malga for Petro Data. Thank you, sir. God bless you.
Thank you, VP, sir. PS, Somime, are you online? Hello, Somime. PS, Ma, can you hear me? Tunde, if you can hear me, can you roll the announcements? Okay, Somime, I can't get a response from you. And Tunde, okay, just so that you know, NAPE is a hub for learning, right? We have technical sessions happening back to back. Like today, later, tomorrow, we have a collaboration between AAPG and NAPE session. And there are technical sessions happening every month from different chapters and special sessions. So please, if you're not yet a NAPE member, take one of our card. Okay, thank you. Announcement is coming up. Go to the website just in case you missed anything here. All the sessions will be there. Now, what you're seeing here, why am I not the one doing this? We have a publicity secretary. Bosun.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I will be very brief because of our time. So currently we are at this meeting where we spoke about the future of seismic exploration, emerging technologies, trends and application. Next slide, please. We have other technical meetings that will also be coming up, courtesy of NAPI. We have one that will be taken by Alexander Oshudi, where he's going to be speaking on the evaluating petroleum systems in the Anambra Basin, 1D and 3D basin, modeling insights and the prospectivity of the basin. It's a frontier basin in Nigeria. You want to pay attention to this come Friday by 2 p.m. Next slide, please. We would also have a very interesting one too that is important to both students and also professionals. The application of AI, artificial intelligence in seismic interpretation. This is a collaboration between NAPE and APG. Please make it a date with us come 13th of March, that's tomorrow. And it's going to be 3 p.m. Nigerian time. Okay, next, please. Okay, so this is an announcement for our upcoming conference, the 43rd conference. For those who are the 32nd, I hope you enjoyed it. And the theme is revitalizing the Nigerian petroleum exploration and production strategies for energy security and sustainable developments. Is scheduled to hold between the 9th to 13th of November 2025 at the prestigious Eco Hotel and Suites. Please make it a date to attend this with us. Okay, here's the flyer. I think there is a call for registration. The early bird is going to go on until September 1st, but after September 1st, it's no longer early bird registration. So you might want to register for it very quickly. Next slide, please. Okay, still the flyer, and please note the topic for the theme for the conference. Next slide, please. Okay, so we are calling for sponsorship across different categories from platinum, gold, silver, whatever way you want to sponsor us in the course of this conference, you are invited to do so. We are looking for sponsorship opportunities as it were. So also for us to remember that we have to pay our membership dues. Yes, there has been a little challenge with the site, but very soon that will be resolved. But this is just a reminder of what it costs for you to be either a student member, for those who are still students, or an active or corporate members. The cost for this is as displayed here. Please keep checking the website. Very soon that will be rectified, and you can actually make payment and be a bona fide member. So here is the account details for payment, and you can, pending the time, you can make contact with the number that is here, or simply do an email to Mayowa as indicated in the email address here. Okay. I think with that, okay, and also let's remember that for monthly technical meetings like this, we are open to getting sponsorship across different chapters that we have. Currently, this meeting we are seated in is sponsored by TGS, and we are also looking forward to as many organizations that want to sponsor us for our business technical meetings. So please, you can reach out to the President-elect, Mrs. Olajumoke F. Napi, or you can also reach out to the NAPI Secretariat, to Mr. Lawrence, in case you are interested in sponsoring any of our programs at any chapter. Okay, that'll be all for now. Thank you all for listening.
The only person to round up this is the chapter coordinator. Ma, can you hear us? Dr. Eunice
Yes,
Ajayi?
I can.
Okay. Over to you, please.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Over to
I'm
you.
so excited today. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. And have no doubt that this meeting this morning has sparked new ideas and also provided valuable insight to all of us. Thank you for coming. I also want to especially appreciate Joshua and Peter for the outlook they've taken us into the new trend in the seismic exploration activities. I've learned today new outlook. I've learned highest quality, cost effectiveness, and the faster concept of completion. And also what used to take months before can take a few minutes with this new technology. Thank you so much. And also I want to appreciate Mr. Wale Yetoron for facilitating the TGS to sponsor this program. Mr. Wale, thank you also for always coming to Abuja, and we hope to see you next year for this another insightful meeting. Abuja chapter, we have 4 technical meetings for the year. This is the first one for the year 2025, and then the next one is going to be in May, and then we have subsequent ones, the 3rd and the 4th quarter. So we'll be quite happy to have you come again. And in between these chapter meetings, we also have training for our students. So all the students, I want you to drop your contacts so that we'll get in touch with you when the time comes for the trainings for our student membership. And also for our young professionals, we have mentoring programs for you too. We're here to mentor our young professionals. So we have days and activities for such programs for you guys. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much.
We're going to cap this program up with the lunch, and then we have also takeaway packs for our Muslim brethren that are fasting.
Thank you so much.
I wish you all safe trip to your various destinations. Thank you. God bless you. See you next
Thank you,
time.
ma'am. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. As lunch is served, but while lunch is going, can we please take a picture with sponsors, our presenters, and our dignitaries? Please come over to the front and let's take pictures. Godwin? Alestaka? FNAP, Alajibomai, please come over. Bosu, help me with the podium, please. Bosu? All right, Godwin, let's move the camera from there. Will you be able to come? Sorry, can we close it up a bit more? Can we close it up a bit more? Yeah, that's good. Thank you. And oh, okay, good. Yeah. Thank you so much. Can we just have the TGS group, please? Just the TGS group. Okay. Yes. And then we'll take maybe the large group picture outside if you don't mind. All right? Will you like to do that? Let me hear a yes. Good. All right. Escos. Can I have the escos on ground? Basu? VP, sir. Please. Yes, please. Thank you. So all of us in the hall, can we use this door? I'm moving there. For those of you that are fasting, just come here and then you will take a pack. And if you're not fasting, just walk to the table, you'll be served. There is a lot of food, so please don't go. If you go, we'll have a lot of waste. Just give me a missed call.
Takeaways for the people.
Yes. Yeah, no. Two envelopes, huh? Okay. Are you ready? Sorry, can we move towards this door, please? Prof, good to see you again. I remember